For social studies today, you are going to go to Studies Weekly and read the articles. Scientists believe volcanoes cause a little ice age and a review for landforms of Texas. I'm going to read these two articles out loud. If you would like to reread it or you want to read them yourselves, no problem. You can always go to Studies Weekly, just like we did last week. Click Week 2 Changes and click the articles that I am about to read to you. Don't forget, you can always click the play button and it can be read to you. You can always click the turtle to pick the speed that you would like for it to be read to you. Also, here we have short videos embedded within each article that you can click on and watch. So let's get started. Now, last week, you've read changes to land, bring changes for people, so I'm not going to read that one. We also did forever changing in land affects life. So today I'm going to read Scientists Believe Volcanoes Cause a Little Ice Age. And let's get started. An ice age usually lasts thousands of years, but between 1300 and 1900 CE, the Northern Hemisphere experienced a cooling called the Little Ice Age. The cooling was so intense that glaciers moved south, causing northern European towns to be destroyed. It was so cold, and the Thames River in London and canals in the Netherlands froze. A scientist at the University of Colorado, using plant fossils from this period, may have discovered why this happened. The plants died suddenly between 1275 and 1300 CE. That's exactly when many volcanoes erupted. 50 years later, volcanoes erupted again. Billions of tiny particles from the eruptions were in the atmosphere, reflecting the sun's heat away from the earth. Fossils, remains of dead plants and animals, formed under the ice. The growing ice cap sparked a feedback loop. A feedback loop causes something to happen over and over. First, the tiny particles stopped a lot of the sun's heat from reaching land. This cooling caused the ice cap to grow. The ice reflected more of the sun's heat back into the atmosphere. This caused more cooling. Finally, the glaciers became so large that they stopped the warmer ocean currents from melting the ice cap. Over centuries, the glaciers grew to cover northern Europe. Volcanic eruptions started the cooling, but it took the feedback loop to keep the little ice age going for centuries. Reading this article makes me think about the movie Ice Age. Have any of you seen that? That was a good movie. After you have listened to me read the two articles, I am going to have these exact questions created into a quiz for you to take. Okay, so let's just read those real quick. Which year is during the time period of the Little Ice Age? Was it 1975, 1291, 1455, or 1016? According to the selection, which of the following was not a result of the cooling effect of the Little Ice Age? Was it the scientists studied the active volcanoes? Glaciers moved south? Northern European towns were destroyed? Or canals in the Netherlands froze? And what I would suggest, guys, is because you don't want to have to go back out your quiz, is to just write your answers down right now. So when you get to the quiz, you already have your answers, because it will be the exact same questions that I'm reading. Which of the following explains the process of a feedback loop? Particles from volcanic eruptions block the sun, which causes ice to form. The scientists found dead plants and animals in the active volcanoes years later. Scientists have seen an ice age happen every decade. Billions of particles of plants were spread around and could be studied. Okay, let's go to, and this will be more of a review because we talked about landforms a couple of weeks ago. Excuse me. Landforms are natural shapes that make up the Earth's surface. There are many types of landforms. They come in different shapes and sizes. Landforms are on the Earth's outer layer. This layer is called the crust. Most landforms take many years to form. Many of them were formed even hundreds of centuries ago. What makes landforms? Most landforms were formed long ago by heat, pressure, and movement in and on the earth. Earthquakes and volcanoes can help create a new landforms. These forces can also change the landforms already on the earth. Earthquakes move and separate the earth's crust. Volcanoes spill lava, which builds up to make new landforms. Ice, water, and wind can all change the earth's surface. These these things break down the materials of the earth's crust. This weathering is a natural process that is always taking place. Weathering changes the land by loosening the earth's surface. Sometimes these loosened surfaces move away. This is called erosion. Sometimes the parts that move away build up again in other places. Hills and mountains are made, valleys are formed, rivers can even seem smaller or disappear because of erosion. Even though nature is usually responsible for changing landforms, people help too. Humans live on the land. Sometimes the land must be cleared, farmed, or mined. These people are also changing the way the land looks. People also try to find ways to protect landforms from the forces of nature. Below are landforms you should be able to identify and describe. Mountains. Mountains are the highest type of landform on Earth. They often rise up hundreds of meters above the Earth's surface. The highest mountain in the United States is Denali, formerly Mount McKinley in Alaska. The highest mountain in Texas is Guadalupe Peak near El Paso. Hill. Hills are landforms that rise slightly above the land around them. Hills are smaller than mountains. Cliff. This is new. We didn't have cliff in our old lesson. A cliff is a high, steep land that is the face of a rock. A mesa, also new to us. A mesa is a mountain with a flat top. The sides of a mesa are usually very tall and steep. Cave. A cave is a hole in the ground or in the side of a hill or mountain. Many animals make their homes in caves. Carlsbad caverns in New Mexico are large room-sized caves underground. A delta. A delta is an area of land at the point where a river reaches an ocean. Deltas are areas where earth builds up into new land. Canyon. A canyon is a deep, narrow valley with very tall, steep sides. Canyons are usually landforms made by water movement. A large canyon in the United States is, of course, Grand Canyon in Arizona. Island. An island is land that is surrounded by water. The state of Hawaii is actually made up of islands. Lake. A lake is a body of water with land on all sides. Lakes can be natural or made by people. Really large lakes are often called seas. River. Rivers are large flowing bodies of water that move across the land. They can join up with other rivers or flow into the ocean or sea. Ocean. An ocean is a large body of salt water. There are 5 major oceans on Earth: the Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Southern Ocean, and Arctic Ocean. Plain. A plain is a flat piece of land. The Great Plains region of the United States covers most of the central part of the United States. And lastly, valley. A valley is the lowland between hills and mountains. Napa Valley is a large valley with communities in California. And here are your 3 questions. What landform is a deep, narrow valley with very tall, steep sides? Number 2, weathering can lead to which of the following things happening? Oops, I did not read the choices. Erosion, farming, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. And which of the following situation could possibly happen to erosion? A volcano erupting and making animals and people move to other areas. Forest animals going into the city because their trees are cut down. Polar animals having to move because the ice they live on melts. Or people that live on the beach having to move because part of the shoreline gets washed away. And make sure we're understanding the question is asking you possibly happen due to erosion. So make sure we go back, check out what they said about erosion before we choose that answer, because they all sound really, really good, but only one can be correct. Now, that is the end of our 2 articles. Crosswords. If you would like to do the crossword and the misspell for fun or for practice, you may go right ahead. It's not required. It's just so that you can it'll help you retain that information that you've learned. So it's more of a practice. Don't forget, head down and complete your quiz.